Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
In this session, we're going to talk about programming your mind for success. We know from the earlier sessions that we become what we think about, and that everything that we are right now, this moment today, is the sum total result of everything that we have thought to this period. We also know that everything we are or ever will become will come as a result of the content of our minds, that we do not achieve our destinies or realize our futures through physical effort at all. It's always through what we do with our minds. And that everything that we do to improve the quality of our thinking must, by extension, improve the quality of our lives. So let's just briefly recap some of the mental laws that we have talked about up to now, and then mention two more, plus two factors which are critically important to reprogramming our minds. The first law was the law of belief, that simply said that whatever we believe with feeling becomes our reality. That if we wish to change our realities, we must change our beliefs about ourselves in relation to reality. That if we have self-limiting beliefs, they come true for us irrespective of whether or not they are based on fact or fiction. The second law that we talked about was the law of expectation, that says whatever we expect with confidence becomes our own self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's why it is absolutely essential that we continually expect the best of ourselves and expect the best of every situation. We find that the most successful men and women make a habit of developing positive self-expectancy. They are continually manufacturing their own expectations to keep themselves positive and to keep their self-fulfilling prophecies consistent with what they want to accomplish rather than with what they fear. The third law that we talked about is the law of attraction, that says that we inevitably attract into our lives the people and circumstances that harmonize with our dominant thoughts, and that if we want to attract different people and different circumstances, we have to change our thinking, that our thoughts are like a form of electromagnetic energy that radiate out from us and that attract back to us like a magnet those people and those circumstances that harmonize with them. The third law that we talked about is the law of concentration. Now, concentration is extremely important. It says that whatever you dwell upon in the conscious mind grows in your experience. It's as though your thoughts were watered and fertilized by continual concentration. If you want to grow a plant, it requires fertilizer, water, and nutrition and weeding. If you want to grow something in your life, it requires concentrating on that thought or picture until it comes into your reality. The next law that we talked about is the law of substitution, which says that the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, either positive or negative. If we wish to have positive experiences in our lives, we have to keep our conscious mind focused on positive things, positive events, positive circumstances. In James Allen's wonderful book, As a Man Thinketh, he says that the mind is very much like a garden. And like a garden, either weeds or flowers will grow. But if you do not deliberately and consciously and purposefully plant flowers, weeds will grow automatically. Weeds do not need any encouragement. Weeds do not need any nutrition. They do not need any fertilizer. They do not even need weeding, if you like. Weeds just grow automatically, which is to say that our minds will tend to be occupied with worries and fears and anxieties unless we consciously and deliberately fill them with thoughts. Like a vacuum, the mind will not remain empty for any period of time unless we consciously fill them with thoughts consistent with the people that we want to be, with the characteristics and attributes that we want to have. Then what we'll have is weeds. And the reason why most people are so unhappy in life is that their minds are full of weeds. It's as simple as that. The two factors that are important are thought and feeling. Feeling is, if you like, the activating process of mind. That each thought that we wish to bring into our reality must be charged or activated by an emotion of desire, an emotion of love, an emotion of excitement. But a thought without a feeling does not generate a reaction in our lives. A feeling without a thought does not generate a direction. So thought and feeling must be mixed. The next law is what we call the law of practice, or the law of repetition. We know that if we wish to develop a motor skill or a mechanical skill, if we wish to learn how to type or to play tennis or to ski or to do anything that requires our physical body. In order to do it, we have to first learn the skill, and then we have to practice it over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. Every single attitude or thought or value that we have is a habit pattern of thought, either positive or negative. And if we wish to change from negative habit patterns to positive habit patterns, we have to practice the positive ones over and over again. If we wish to see ourselves and think about ourselves as positive, constructive, achievement-oriented, forward-looking individuals, we have to think about ourselves and dwell on ourselves as being that type of person all the time. By doing that over and over again, that's how we practice until it becomes a habit. Positive people do not have to remind themselves to be positive when they get up in the morning. Positive people are positive because they have thought positively for so long, it's a natural habit for them to be positive. It's a habit for them to be optimistic. It's a habit for them to look for the good in each situation. It's a habit for them to respond positively to other people. They don't have to make any effort. They have done it over and over again until it is an automatic response. And our entire future is dependent upon the habits we form, especially the habit patterns of mind. As they say, form good habits and make them your masters. And finally, the law of relaxation. The law of relaxation says quite simply that in all mental working, effort defeats itself. Now, in physical working, if we wish to chop a piece of wood or hammer a nail into a block of wood, the harder we hit, the faster we chop the wood, the faster we drive the nail in. So we know that in the physical world, the more exertion we put in, the harder we work, the more we put our shoulder to it, the better results we get. In the mental world, though, it is exactly the opposite, and this is an absolutely critical distinction. It is the harder that we don't try, the faster our minds change and we become the people that we want to become. The more we just relax and confidently believe and expect that the things that we want will come into our life when we are ready for them, the more rapidly they come in. The harder we work, the harder we push, the less success we have. And if we try to make things happen out of their due time, invariably we precipitate a crisis in our lives. If we try to make things happen too fast or too slow, especially in mental working, we will cause enormous stress and chaos in our lives. So the answer is just to relax, to confidently believe, to think about, to concentrate on what we want to happen, to keep our minds focused on where we want to go, and just confidently expect that exactly when we are ready, what we want will come to us. In this session, we're going to talk about the process of changing our thoughts, the different things that we can do to change our thoughts and our habit patterns, our mental habit patterns, from negative to positive. We know that we always earn a living in a manner consistent with our self-concept. We know that we always behave in a manner consistent with our self-concept. We know that all of our performance is linked to our self-concept up to this moment. We also know, wonderfully enough, that every human being is in a continual state of becoming. As a matter of fact, there is a sub-branch of psychology called the psychology of becoming. The psychology of becoming simply says that nobody stays the same for any period of time. We're continually evolving and growing as human beings and becoming more and better and different, and that we are always changing in the direction of our ideal self. We are always changing in the direction of our dominant thoughts and our dominant goals. Our job in this process is to keep very clearly in our minds the people we would like to be and the goals we would like to accomplish. And as we do that, we begin to move irrevocably toward them, just like a rocket ship moves toward a distant star and then becomes attracted by the gravity of that star and moves faster and faster on the way toward it. There are two habits of mind which we must carefully avoid if we are going to continue to grow and evolve toward the full development of our potential. And the first is what is called homeostasis. Homeostasis is the condition of clinging to the status quo. It's the unwillingness to let go of the past. It's the desire to keep things exactly the way they are. Because we know that the whole idea of change is scary, and many people, rather than allowing themselves to go with the flow and to change and evolve and grow and become more fulfilled human beings, will rigidly dig in their heels and hold back the future and keep their minds rigidly fixed on what they are and where they are today and not advance at all. So in order to change our self-concept, one of the first things that we learn is that we must be willing to let go of the old person and to become the new person and to make efforts in that direction. The second malady that we must avoid is what is called psychosclerosis. Psychosclerosis is a hardening of the attitudes. Psychosclerosis is a case that sets in when we become rigid in our thinking. We become inflexible and we become dogmatic, and we will not allow any kind of a change into our lives. We again dig in our heels mentally and we try to hold back the tide. These two, psychosclerosis and homeostasis, or what is called the homeostatic impulse, the refusal to change, hold us back, but all they do is they hold us in our rigid older selves and they prohibit our growth. In order to continue growing, we have to let go. We have to decide to change our minds by developing new habit patterns of thinking about ourselves. Developing new habit patterns of thought is not that difficult. It only takes something like 10 to 21 days to develop brand new habit patterns of thought. And we do it by thinking and talking and acting continuously in the manner consistent with the person we would like to be, with the attributes and characteristics we would like to have. There are several techniques that we can use in terms of moving toward our ideal person. First of all, we have to form a clear mental picture of how we would be and how we would behave with the new characteristics and attributes. If, for instance, we want to be more patient and kind and loving with our families, then we get a very clear picture of ourselves as patient and kind and loving. And we see that picture and we use that as our directional mechanism or our source of direction, a homing beam that we focus in on and try to keep in a straight line with. Also, if, for instance, we want to develop leadership ability, or we want to develop the ability to make decisions, or we want to develop greater self-confidence, then we begin to think about ourselves as though we already had those qualities and characteristics. We begin to look at other people and think of other people who have those qualities and characteristics and see us acting that way. As we begin to do that, we begin to change our self-image by replacing the picture that we have in our mind of the individual with a negative habit pattern with a new picture of ourselves with the positive habit pattern we wish to develop. This, by the way, is the way we develop all new habit patterns of thought, by continually thinking of ourselves in terms of the new characteristics, the new qualities, the new abilities, and no longer thinking of ourselves as having the limited qualities and the limited characteristics. There are three methods that we can use to accelerate this process of personal development. The first is what is called affirmation. And using affirmations, positive, present tense, personal affirmations, our potential is literally unlimited. Affirmations are positive, assertive statements that say yes to our potential. And the affirmations that we've talked about up to now are affirmations like, I like myself, I am responsible, I feel terrific, I am decisive, or I earn $30,000 a year. It's repeating these affirmations over and over again strongly, with feeling, with confidence, with belief, with enthusiasm, that drives them deep into the subconscious. Which brings us to an additional law, which is called the law of subconscious activity. And the law of subconscious activity simply says that whatever the conscious mind believes and accepts, the subconscious mind immediately goes to work to bring into our physical reality. The subconscious mind is a mechanical agent that acts and obeys our instructions, and our instructions are always the content of our conscious mind. Clint Eastwood starred in a movie called Firefox. It was quite a remarkable picture, and the plot of the movie was that the Russians had developed a supersonic jet fighter that was so advanced that it could be controlled by the thoughts of the pilot. And the pilot could think the plane up or down or sideways. It could think the plane into firing or discharging or taking evasive action. And at the critical moment in the movie, Clint Eastwood has to remember to think in Russian because the plane is programmed only to receive thoughts in Russian. Now, when we think of a technological marvel like that, we know that it is only the stuff of science fiction, that it'll never be possible for a person to use simple thought power to direct a supersonic plane or any technological marvel. Yet, we are exactly the same way in that our lives are directed either up or down or sideways or in any direction by the content and the quality of our thoughts on an ongoing basis. that whatever we think in our mind, we begin immediately to move our mind toward. It's the same as when you are sitting driving down the street in an automobile with your hands on the wheel. If you turn the wheel sharply to the right or the left, you'll go to the right or the left. If you are driving through your life, as you turn your thoughts sharply to the right or the left, your life and your experiences will tend to go in that direction also. Our thoughts have inordinate power, and not only that, our thoughts have a powerful impact on the people around us for ways and reasons that we simply do not understand yet, but our thoughts have a kind of magnetic energy that actually causes changes in the behavior and the performance of other people around us. So thoughts are things, if you like. Thoughts are very, very powerful. Using affirmations, and you can create affirmations for anything that you want to accomplish. Using affirmations means our future is absolutely unlimited. And so what we have to do is we have to keep talking to ourselves. If we want to increase our income, we have to keep talking to ourselves as though we had that income already. We have to keep saying, I have, or I earn $30,000 a year. I earn $30,000 a year. Affirmations, in order to be accepted by the subconscious, have to be couched in the 3 Ps. First of all, they have to be personal. It has to be I. We cannot say you or somebody else. We always have to talk in the first person singular. I like myself. Second of all, they have to be positive. If we wish to quit smoking, we would not say, I will not smoke anymore, I will not smoke anymore, because the subconscious cannot take in an instruction that includes a negative. So what we would say instead is, I am a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker. We wouldn't say, I don't eat desserts anymore. I don't eat desserts anymore. What we would say is, I only eat foods that are healthy and consistent with a slim, trim figure. The third P is that it must be in the present tense. We cannot say, I will earn X number of dollars next year, or I will lose X number of pounds over the next 90 days, because the subconscious cannot relate to information that is couched in any other tense but the now. So every affirmation that we make and every clear statement that we make to ourselves has to be in the present. I do, I am, I have, I achieve, I earn, and it has to be present and it has to be personal. With regard to affirmations, when we write out our goals and rewrite our goals, we also write them as though they existed right now. We write them as though they existed in the present moment rather than at some future time. The second way that we program our minds is by using what we call visualization. Visualization is the most powerful single capability that the human being has, and it is the ability to form a clear, precise, vivid mental picture of the things that we want to be, have, or do, and to hold that picture very, very clearly in our minds. Whatever you can hold in your mind on a continuous basis, you can be, have, or do. Whatever you can picture in your imagination, you can accomplish. Napoleon Hill said many years ago, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And even Einstein said that your imagination is your preview of life's coming attractions. And we have taught people to use visualization to heal sick bodies, to achieve higher levels of income, to achieve promotions, to develop new habit patterns of self-confidence and personal power and enthusiasm. The key to using visualization is to get a clear mental picture of yourself as though you already had the characteristics and attributes that you want. Prior to every situation of importance, take a couple of minutes to play a clear mental picture of the ideal you in the upcoming situation. If you're going into a sales interview, if you are going in to see your boss, if you are holding a party, if you are giving a talk, anything that requires mental preparation that you want to be at your very best at, stop for a few seconds and even a few minutes prior to the situation and form a clear mental picture of yourself performing at your very best in that situation, and then see the ideal result in your mind's eye. See a clear, precise picture of the situation coming out exactly the way you wanted it to come out. Exactly the ideal result.